Hello everyone. In this video, we see Mikhail Tal's amazing game. This game was played in 1971 in Estonia. Mikhail Tal play with black pieces and Barcza Gedeon play with white pieces. Game is too interesting, so watch till end. Let's start. So white starts with knight to f3. Reti opening. Reti opening king side fianchetto variation. g3, bishop to g7. Bishop to g2, preparing for castle. d6, d3, e5, e4, knight to c6, knight to c3, knight g2, e7, preparing for castle on king side. And the white continue with bishop to e3 and Tal castles king side. Queen to d2, knight to d4, offer for knight exchange. But white continue with knight to e2. But that's a mistake. So here in this position, pause the video and think. Tal's next move. So Tal continue with bishop to h3 and sacrifice his bishop. But white can't take this bishop because if white take this bishop, then white would lose his support on knight. And after losing support, Tal would take this knight and fork on queen. So white would lose his queen. So this is too dangerous for white. So white didn't take this bishop and continue with knight takes knight. But Tal didn't take this knight and continue with bishop takes bishop and create pressure on rook. Rook to g1, e takes knight and create pressure on bishop. So white take this pawn with his knight and cover this f3 square. So bishop can't escape from here. And if Tal move his bishop on h3, then white would move his pawn on g4 and lock this bishop on h3. So Tal continue with c5 and create pressure on knight. So now white has to move his knight, and after moving knight, white's control on f3 is no longer. So white continue with knight to b5, bishop to f3, and white stop this bishop with g4. So here again pause the video and think how Tal can save his bishop. So Tal continue with d5. So if white take this pawn, then Tal could take this pawn and the Tal's bishop would free. But if white continue with another move, then Tal would take this pawn, and if white take this pawn with d pawn, then also Tal would take this pawn with his bishop. But after moving pawn, this pawn becomes supportless. So white continue with bishop takes c5 and Tal move his rook on c8 and create pressure on bishop. Bishop to a3, d takes e4. D takes e4 and offer for queen exchange. Here Tal could take this pawn with his bishop. But Tal declined the offer of queen exchange and continue with queen to b6 and create pressure on knight and also leave his knight. So white take this knight with his bishop. Bishop takes knight and pressure on rook. If Tal take this knight, then white would take this rook. But Tal take this knight. Queen takes knight and white continue with bishop takes rook, and now you can see that Tal could take this bishop and equal the game by material wise. And before some time here you can see that Tal is up, but after some time Tal sacrifice his pieces in other way to gain advantage of his game. Let's back to game. So here Tal didn't take this bishop and continue with queen takes b2 and create pressure on rook. But white also take this bishop. Bishop takes bishop and pressure on queen. So Tal continue with king takes bishop, and now you can see that pressure on rook and also Tal is down in exchange. Tal has a bishop in front of white's rook. But white's king is in center. So this is too dangerous for white. So white first save his rook to c1, and here pause the video and think Tal's next move. So Tal continue with rook to d8 and sacrifice his rook and create pressure on queen. But white can't take this rook because if queen takes rook, then white would lose his support on rook. Then queen takes rook check and the king has no mouse. So white has to move his queen. Then queen takes queen is mate. So white save his queen on e3 and create pressure on bishop. Here again pause the video and find the brilliant move of Tal. So Tal take this pawn and sacrifice his queen. But white can't take this queen sacrifice because this is deflection. If white take this queen, then checkmate comes immediately. So Tal's game plan is very clear. So white start pushing his king, but king can't escape from here. And pause for last time and find the last move of Tal. So Tal continue with rook to d1 check, and after rook to d1 check, white resigned here. Because if white take this rook, then queen takes rook check and the king has no mouse. So white has to move his queen, then queen to d3 check and the king has no mouse. So after queen to e2, queen takes queen and mate. And here if white move his queen, then queen to e2 is mate because white's queen is pinned. And also queen to d3 is mate because queen is pinned. So after rook to d1 check, white resigned here. If you like the game, then please subscribe the channel for watch more videos.